chance to do something a little different with the character just a few weeks ago. But I realized I cannot wrestle for a long time. I'm getting hurt way too easily, which is a really bad sign.
Yeah.
And there's no excuse with concussions being, so talked about, and with us understanding more and more about them all the time, there's no excuse for me going out there to get them an extra tenth of a rating point.
Right.
It's just silly. But at the same time, to take me after I'd been on the rally with Jon Stewart and done the Daily Show, and to counter people who say, well, they couldn't put that on because that was a liberal gathering. I'd say, then show me on Fox Business, because we had a nice conversation there too. Counter that. But
cut a package of all your promotional.
But when you're
liberal, because the money counts the same. That's like Michael Jordan had a great line. We use this all the time. Michael Jordan used to get criticized. Why don't you take political stances? Because Republicans buy sneakers too.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. That's the rationale they gave you.
No. That was just a couple fans saying that's why they wouldn't have shown it. But I don't think anyone had. I mean, Vince showed me.
Most of Hollywood is liberal, guys. If you're going to go on any Hollywood show other than Fox and Fox Business, you're pretty much on a liberal show.
Vince showed me and Bradshaw having the debate. Several years ago, and they gave us even time. They didn't color it to make it look like Bradshaw had destroyed me. I mean, they gave me equal time, and that was he understands that. And I don't think that's the issue with TNA. They're not saying, well, Mick was on a liberal show. I just don't think they see the importance of putting it out there.
Yeah.
And that, I have an opportunity, as a guy who's been doing work with Rain and who was their volunteer of the month, and to do positive stuff as one of the faces of the company.
Right.
And I just think, to look at it like, well, let's do this because we don't know what else to do the next few weeks. It's short-term thing. Yeah, short-sighted.
Again, wrestling when we all grew up, and I think sort of was always, particularly Vince's, was booked long-term. Like at WrestleMania 4, they knew they were going for WrestleMania 5.
Yeah.
And that's what made it fun. And frankly, a little predictability is not necessarily a bad thing.
No, it's not.
Audiences like that. Now, one businessy thing I want to cover, going back to the piracy issue here a little bit. We talk about there are way too many pay-per-views now. Between WWE, which I think is way too many as well, TNA, UFC, which has too many shows also, and now when it costs you $55 to order a WWE show in HD, there is no question that streaming piracy, they're not going anywhere, okay? But doesn't that at a certain time make you, particularly if you're TNA as an example, who can afford to do this a bit more, go on and say, well, wait a minute, we don't do great numbers on our pay-per-views anyway.
Right.
If we're going to keep the 12, you keep the 12, fine. But why not at $15 stream them? And by the way, cut out the cable company middleman.
Yeah.
Okay? Keep all that money for ourselves. And at the very least, you're not going to stop all piracy. But the reason that iTunes works is people said it's $1.29.
Yeah.
At that point, you make it viable for them to follow the
ease of use, ease of presentation, and price pointed that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I see this myself. I can write off wrestling pay-per-views, which is a wonderful thing. But the fact is, I don't buy them all because the reality. If I was someone that bought Survivor Series and then the next night they do the Miz fucking angle, I'd be pissed.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that I don't know. Do you ever think, and from a price point of view, particularly in this economy, do you ever see this stuff getting presented? Is it ever brought up?
In a different way.
The Ring of Honor does the internet pay-per-views, but TNA's got a TV opportunity that, by the way, it's only going to drive more people to your website anyway and get them shopping around.
Yeah.
I don't know what goes on. I don't know the inner workings there. I don't know where the decisions are made or not made. From what I understand, there was a package of some of the media work I'd done, and it was not aired. I don't know who made that decision. I do know that when Rick and I had our match, that there was a package based on the build-up, including that promo that I thought was one of the best things I've ever done. And they were running long, so they cut the package. And it's like, cut something. Just let us tell that whole story. We deserve that
special
3
moment.
minutes.
Keep your
Well,
special
especially that they're asking for you to do that because they know that their rating means something, and they know you guys mean something to that rating.
Yeah.
So let you tell this story,
and
really
remind fans of why this needs to be seen. And there was a lot of filler on that show in order to try to get people to buy the pay-per-view. And I just think, again, that's instead of somebody going to, no, we'll cut something later on, we'll give them their time to get to tell this story.
By the way, Floyd Lawton in the room has a great point. I brought this up before.
Okay.
TNA particularly, she goes, get on Redbox for God's
Yeah.
sake, take a loss to get on Redbox because it's branded stuff. You see Redbox yet?
No.
Okay, if you drive around here, I'm surprised they haven't gotten over by you yet. Go to any 7-Eleven, half the supermarkets, McDonald's has them
Okay,
now.
all right, you're
the
talking
red
about-
DVD, $1 a day.
$1 a day,
It's
yeah.
a massively growing business. Okay?
And to a
Netflix
big,
streaming, by the way. I don't believe WWE's on Netflix streaming.
I don't think so either.
Beat them to the punch where you can beat them to the punch.
but it's a big constituents of where your fan base, working families, that where they could see that dollar X division thing and go, you know what, I'll sample that because I know my kids might enjoy that for a couple hours.
If you went
And
by
then hook 'em in.
the one 7-Eleven by me that's got the red box
Yeah.
outside, if you went over there and saw a cover of a DVD that had Jeff Hardy, Mick Foley, Ric Flair, and Kurt Angle on it, and by the way, put AJ and you'll put a couple of your homegrown guys on
Yeah.
there, chances are for $1 a day you will get some sampling.
Yeah, you're right.
All right,
Yeah.
and all this is it's critical mass at a point in time, and understanding that, look, your audience is, because one thing about wrestling audiences is, particularly the young wrestling audience, these are the people that know every technological trick in the world. They're going to figure out a way
Yeah.
to get it. So you've got to at least sort of step up to that. And, again, to the idea of hitting them where they ain't, and at least doing things where you can, if Vince's organization is a battleship, you have to be a cigarette boat, all right? And they've got to take a longer time to turn. They're a publicly traded company. You're not. You can zig and zag. You can take more of these flyers, and I'll take a step further. Talked a little about this off the air beforehand. There was an opportunity to go and take the TNA guys and put them in SAG and immediately checkmate Vince. Because Vince has to respond to that. And more importantly, what does it allow you to do? You send Mick Foley or whoever, or Dixie,
And
whoever
we
the
are
adversary
the
is.
good guys.
That's
Yep.
right.
Yeah.
We're the good guys. We care.
In that particular battle, we are the good guys. We are looking out for our guys. We are protecting them. And suddenly that's like, okay, well, this is the full completion of out of the smoky rooms into the TV sets that you guys perform on now, because that's what it is.
And it's a relevant story.
It's
that when
massively
guys
relevant.
go out and talk about it. That's
an easy win. It doesn't really cost you anything.
Yeah.
It really does not. Okay. And what it does for you from a PR point of view is you cannot put a dollar value on
I
it
agree.
because it immediately forces Vince to answer the question. It is a great business strategy, and it blows my mind that it has not gone on because it's the ultimate check move to me.
Yeah.
They have to respond. It forces the independent contractor issue. It forces everything. And you get SAG's health program. You go into all of that
Right.
stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
It's an easy win, and it just, from a presentation point of view, works. And that's the stuff to me that I think I sometimes, we like everybody over there, but you kind of go, these are things that got to get talked about because they're there, and they're not going to be there forever. Someone's going to come and do it. If you don't, I'll go do it fucking
What I'm getting when I ask these questions is a lot of what the
That
old
person's in charge,
WCW
that
was.
person's, yeah.
And at least
chain of command issues.
with WWE, we knew that's who you talk to. And so
Yeah.
it's very frustrating. I will eventually throw up my hands and just say, okay, I'll walk to the mailbox every 2 weeks.
Right.
And
Yeah,
pick
pay
up
me
a
to sit at
check.
home,
You
fine.
know, I'll do that. Or I'll go on the show and do something I don't believe in. But you saw the difference
Oh, yeah.
when Rick and I did that
Absolutely.
promo. These are two guys who believe in what they're doing. This is what I'm capable of doing when I'm emotionally invested.
Well, it was great too because you guys have a backstory that fans know.
Yeah, I mean that was a extreme example. I couldn't
Right.
do that every week, and it
No,
wouldn't
you-
be
and it
me.
wouldn't
I don't
be
want
the
to
same
see.
with
I'm getting tired of watching Rick bleed like it on TV too. Frankly, that's getting a little ridiculous. It's getting kind of gross.
But that night where he came out and
Well, yeah, that
things
counts.
started
Every now and
to
then,
shoot,
as
and
it-
I countered by busting the eyebrow, which is not
Yeah.
something you could have set up ahead. I guess
Right.
you could have, but we didn't. And it came across being different and unique. But
Right.
it's just a way of showing that I can still respond when my heart's in something.
Right.
But honestly, when I walked out, when I came back after 4 months to be the referee at the Hardcore Justice pay-per-view, it was like, I don't know if that's what you come back from.
Yeah.
If you've been fired, the ideal situation to get back at Bischoff wasn't there because he was kind of that quasi-good guy,
Quasi-good guy,
figurehead. And there was no reason for me to come back except that I was sitting at home getting paid.
Right.
So
What do you think about? In terms of we won't dwell on this too much, but in terms of like the immortal stuff, the Hardy turn, what do you thought? Any thoughts?
But you know what? When we talk about turns, that was it was a big event.
Yeah, that's a
it was
shock.
all in the follow-up, and I think from what I've seen up and out on the road, honestly, I do DVR the show. I haven't seen it in a few weeks. What I've seen of Jeff's character, I like.
I do too.
Yeah, I
It's
too.
a twist for him, and Jeff's greatest challenge was always the promos. And now it's almost like what Paul Heyman did. Benoit's not a guy
we can talk about Benoit,
but he took Chris's limitations as speaker, and he turned them almost into a strength.
That's right.
That he was like a man of a few words, but when he said something, it had an impact. And Jeff, to me, he's always had all the charisma in the world, and that's a great turn for him.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, a guy sat down with me on a plane. He goes, "I really like what's going on, with Fortune." I said, "Oh, what's that?" He goes, "Well, Matt Morgan has left there, and Doug Williams has not." I said, wait a second. There's been 2 defections
already.
Yeah.
And
they hadn't even really built on the Jeff.
It was like Nexus as well, same thing.
I go back to the evolution of the 4 Horsemen, and I bet if you went back, there wasn't even a hint of friction for months, if not a year or more, so that when you first started having friction, and then you had the turns, and then the turns started coming more rapidly. But I don't think they sit back and look at it from the perspective, even of a guy like me who DVRs the show, doesn't watch every second of it, fast forward certain things, may not be up on every segment, and so you don't have to give, dramatic, sweeping gotcha moments every single show, because most of your audience is not even going to be aware those moments have taken place.
And where's the chase there? Where's the chase for week in, week out? It's a serialized television. And when Lone Ranger ended, there was a cliffhanger. You didn't know what was going to happen next week.
When it comes to turns, and I talked to the guys who did these turns when I was a fan, and I mean, they love it. It's not the idea that it's the turn out of nowhere. It's the idea that when Sergeant Slaughter was a heel, I read in the magazine that he said that, you know what, he thought Bob Backlund would have made a good Marine. And it was like just kind of softening me up a little bit to the prospect. He was opening me up without realizing it.
Yeah.
So then when the Sheik beat down, when the Sheik beat down somebody and Sergeant Slaughter came out, and he said the Pledge of Allegiance. It wasn't scripted. He said the Pledge of Allegiance. People were open to the idea of Sarge having the big turn. Orndorff and Hogan.
Yeah.
It was obvious that Orndorff was going to turn on Hogan eventually. You just didn't know when it was going to happen. And when it happened, like you said, it was the chase.
Well, the weight's half the fun.
Yeah,
it's the build-up. And I think, look, I go to Virgil turning on DiBiase. 3 years or 4 years of Virgil getting shit on. So when he finally takes the belt and looks and socks him, the place is going to explode.
Right.
And for a generation of kids who saw Virgil as the manservant the entire time, that was a big deal. Now, there's more for Virgil to go after Repo Man steals the belt. but other than the Motor City Comic Con at the 2020 or Hotel Room with Joey Morella.
Wow.
What I want to do real quick is I want to start going to some questions in the room. I'll turn that over to you to...
Sure.
But
Guys, send in questions.
Yeah, if you have questions for Mick, send them in. I do want to ask, though, looking at some of this stuff, where do you see yourself in a year or 2 years? What are your ambitions most now, beyond the movie and the things we sort of looked at? What are the things that are burning for you most? What are you hungry for?
I had a good meeting about a potential TV project today. Like, I'm always open to a good project. This is probably not the best answer, for Geek Week or for entertainment-based program. But I'd like to spend more time at home. I love doing the volunteer work for RAIN. Like, I love the idea that they think highly enough of me to have me, go out and speak about the group. That was one of my fears, that they wouldn't mind me donating. And
have you looked at getting your own pack or anything like that? Because you are so involved now.
Not at all. I trust these groups completely. Child Fund is the other group I work closely with, and I volunteer for a couple other groups. But I've kind of whittled down it used to be I just did everything and anything, and I didn't know if I could see an impact at any one place. So I kind of have limited it a little bit, where I can see. Actually go to the countries and see the projects that I've helped out with, and it's made a difference. So between family and wanting to continue doing the positive things, I'm pretty busy anyway.
Right.
I love the idea of having a part-time job that pays well. TNA has been a real blessing in that sense. I would rather be, motivated, but it's still nice in this economy to have a job like that. So
not a lot of slots.
No, and that'll expire in 8 or 9 months, and the chances of that, that relationship continuing are probably not that good. Once you have Hulk Hogan as your face of the company, there's no need for me.
Sure.